Cloy was, he was sweet on Mama.
Cloy Fenner?
Cloy Fenner. But Daddy married Mama instead. But he was always sweet on her. So. That's where
How
it
did they
goes.
meet?
Hmm?
How did they meet?
I don't know. Probably the gin. I don't know.
At the gin?
I don't know where they met. Out in the cotton field, maybe. I don't know. Taking cotton. You know, they picked cotton back those days by hand.
The little kids too. Well, you told the story.
Everybody.
Uh-huh.
That was back before my time.
The more kids you had, the better it was, huh?
Mm-hmm.
More hands in the field.
Well, yeah, that's because they had so many kids.
So was that the guy that moved in with some other relative, and he brought his rooster with him?
That was Daddy's brother.
Well, okay.
That was Jay Fenner. That moved in, married into somebody anyway, and he took his rooster with him. And when she put him and the rooster both out, told him to go home, get out. But that was Jay and Enzer, cousin Enzer. I don't even know how long they was married, but not long.
Enzer was the woman's name?
Mm-hmm.
First or last?
First. I don't know what the last was.
So was that the same Uncle Jay that whipped the Model T?
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell about that.
Yeah. Well, you know, they had the mule teams, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you had that old mule that didn't want to do right, you worked with the trace chain to get him to pull the plow or whatever. Well, they got this old Model T.
What's a trace chain? Can you describe that?
Trace chain.
Is it just a regular chain?
What hooked up? It was hooked up from the harness on the mule from the
To the collar.
single tree they called it,
Okay.
on the wagon or whatever. That went back. It was a chain that they hooked it up together.
Okay.
And that's what they used the horses used to pull the wagons with. And then when the horse didn't do right, they take the trace chain and pop him over the head to straighten him up. Then the Model Ts come out, and Uncle Jay was driving this old Model T, and he got stuck. Model T wouldn't go, so he jerked out the trace chain and started working on that Model T, like he had the old mules. And of course that didn't help much either.
Did he have a pretty short temper, Uncle
Oh, yeah.
Jay? Does he?
A very short temper. He was probably and he drank a little bit, and he lived at home with Grandma and Grandpa up until, well, he lived there and then he left. That's when he left and married cousin Enza, and then he came back, but he was living with them when they died. He was still living at home.
Okay.
And he was 70 then. No, I don't know how old he was, but he was getting old. Old enough he should have been gone, but he never could leave long enough to, he never could keep a woman long enough to stay gone.
So what was it like growing up on a farm?
I didn't grow up on a farm.
You didn't grow up on a farm? I thought you did. No? Was your dad already
I grew up
working?
I grew up in Reagan, Texas,
Okay.
and Daddy worked for the county as a maintainer operator. And probably when I was 6, maybe 7, I don't know. He left the county He went to work road construction work and left home. And we lived in this little town. We had milk cows. We had everything there. But I was probably 6 or 7 when he left home, started working away from home. And but he drove a maintainer for the county. He knew everybody in the county. He's up and down those roads, grading them. And of course, then you had county roads, they were dirt roads. And so every time it rained, they got rutted up with people trying to go through them in the mud. And he'd go back and straighten them up. Of course, now they pave a lot of your county roads are paved now. But back then there wasn't. But he knew everybody. And he talked to everybody on the road. And he'd do little favors for them. They'd come out and say, "Hey, Roy, would you grade my driveway here a little bit?" He'd say, "Sure." And of course, he's supposed to be just grading the county, but he'd grade up their drive and he'd fix it for them. Everybody knew him and everybody liked him. He'd take us out on Sunday to go riding. That's the only entertainment we ever got was get to ride on Sunday afternoon. He'd go out up and down these county roads 4 miles an hour. And so-and-so lives over here, and such over here. And I put that culvert in over here, and I did this, and I did that. Oh, there goes, "Hey, hello there, how you doing?" And he'd stop, and he'd talk, and we'd sit in the car, and we'd hot, and we wanted to go. And he got good and ready. Had a cousin that would come over sometimes, and they'd get out and walk alongside the car while because he's driving so slow. They'd walk by the side of the car. Tell him, "You're driving too slow." "I'm not driving too slow."
Visiting?
But he just visited along. We was always glad to get to go somewhere, but we was always glad to get back home too after a long little trip in the afternoon with that. That was our Sunday afternoon outing.
Oh, okay.
We'd go to church, run home, and eat lunch, and then we'd go ride. Up and down all these old county roads.
So was he home on the weekends then?
Well, that was when he was still working for the county.
Oh, okay.
And then when he was left home and went to work in construction work, he came home most of the time on weekends. But sometimes he'd miss a weekend or two, or sometimes he'd have to work on weekends, and he might miss a weekend coming home. But most of the time he came home on the weekends.
What's your fondest memory of your dad? If you could pick one, there might be a bunch of them.
You know, I really don't know. Daddy was very strict. I was always afraid of Daddy. I was Mama's boy. I was the baby. I was the last one at home. And he would come home on weekends. And I knew when he'd come home, I had to change the oil in the car and get it ready for him to go back the next day. He'd usually come in on either Friday night or Saturday morning. And I knew when he got there, I was going to change the oil and do all that to the car before he left on Sunday afternoon to go back to work. And I just knew that was going to be my job. I knew that most every weekend when he came home, that had to be done. If it wasn't every weekend, in between, I'd have to change the oil in the car and grease it. Because we had a hand grease gun, we had to grease all the grease fittings. But that was my job.